Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
An FBI source wore a wire inside Gavin Newsom's own orbit as far back as June of 2024. Let that sink in. Federal agents did not just sniff around Sacramento to gossip. They flipped longtime Democrat insider Alexis Podesta, mic'd her up, and sent her into conversations tied to Newsom's then chief of staff, Dana Williamson, who pleaded guilty in May to fraud, a false tax return, and lying to the FBI. And Gavin still went on camera whining that Donald Trump was coming after him. No, Gavin, this was not a mean tweets problem. This is what happens when your corruption firewall blows apart from the inside. And the detail that should terrify every California insider who started talking first. The story matters because Gavin Newsom's not just a slick-haired governor with presidential delusions. Gavin Newsom is a polished mascot for the entire Democrat machine. Activist sermons out front, insider grift in the back room. The anchor detail tells the whole story. Alexis Podesta wore an FBI wire in June of 2024 while Dana Williamson sat near the center of Newsom's operation. Williamson later pled guilty after a scheme that siphoned roughly $225,000 from Xavier Becerra's dormant campaign account through disguised consulting fees and no-show jobs. That's not a paperwork glitch. That's machine politics with a cash register attached. Then look at the scope. Court-authorized wiretaps in May and June of 2024. Snagged calls and texts far beyond one aide. And Sacramento lobbyists and political insiders got FBI letters telling them agents intercepted their communications. Paul Morrow drove the dagger in. Putting a human source up against a sitting governor is a huge deal. Investigators have a lot already. Exactly. Newsom's victim routine just cratered. The former Biden administration era timeline alone blows up the media fairy tale that Trump invented this case out of thin air. When Sacramento cartel can hide $225,000 behind no-show fees, ask yourself a harder question. How much of your own wealth exists only as digits that can vanish with one breach? Everybody cheers AI in the cloud until your bank freezes, code locks you out, and your money doesn't live on a server you control. Noble Gold Investments gives you something real, physical gold and silver, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack, something that can't be frozen by a keystroke and can't be erased by code. You can even move it into a tax-advantaged retirement account or get it shipped right to your door. Go to nextnewsgold.com, just mention my name, and get a free 10-ounce U.S. independent silver bar when you open a new qualified account. America needs assets the cartel can't hide. Now here's the piece that Gavin Newsom can't spin away with another mascara-smeared victim video. Dozens of Sacramento insiders got those FBI notification letters last fall because agents had intercepted their calls and texts, even people with little or no connection to Dana Williamson. That means his probe did not nick one disposable aide and stop. It cut through the Sacramento swamp wide enough to rattle lobbyists, donors, and machine operatives who thought the club would protect them forever. I'm going to show you the reactions because the panic tells its own story. The FBI mic'd up a mole inside Newsom's political orbit before the DOJ launched a corruption investigation. That's according to the New York Post. No wonder Gavin is livid.
From California, just about an hour ago now. No comment to Fox from the DOJ as of this hour. A source there saying that there are several investigations into people around Newsom, including his wife and his former chief of staff, and they originate from whistleblowers. Fox News asking for clarity out of Newsom's office around what he means when he says the DOJ is demanding records. That has not been defined. We'll update you as soon as we get more word on that. In the meantime, the vice president.
Democrat insider Alexis Podesta secretly recorded conversations during the criminal probe into Newsom's then chief of staff, Dana Williamson. So the first report raises the big question, how long have the feds been inside Newsom's circle? Now we get the answer. The wire operation started under Biden in June of 24. Newsom's former chief of staff has been wearing a wire on behalf of the FBI for years. He's cooked. before people claim Trump. The wire wearing started under the Biden administration in June of 24. FBI infiltrated Gavin Newsom's inner circle by convincing governor's ally to wear a wire. The revelation she was wearing a wire as far back as June of 2024 explains why a swath of Sacramento insiders and lobbyists were stunned to receive FBI letters last fall. So it wasn't some last-minute move. It had been running for years. Now more on Alexis Podesta and how her recordings pulled Sacramento insiders and lobbyists into the probe. Longtime Dem insider Alexis Podesta secretly wearing a wire as far back as June of 24. During the probe into Dana Williamson, Podesta recorded conversations explaining why dozens of insiders got FBI letters. Newsom and his wife are now under a broader federal investigation. New York Post. So this is Alexis Podesta. So that's where it gets ugly for the California machine. The dragnet kept expanding. Then Newsom went public, claiming Trump and the DOJ were out to get him and his wife.
Recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies.
Okay, Gavin. So there's Newsom playing victim, calling it political retaliation. Now watch him try a familiar dodge, changing the subject to California crime numbers and attacking Fox News coverage. Gavin Newsom trying to change the conversation amidst the New York Post headlines. This is what he posted.
All of us have a role and responsibility to socialize not just what's happening in California, but across the nation and point out the fact that states like Texas have significantly higher homicide rates than California, property crime rates that are higher than the state of California. I was just looking at the numbers that came out today from the FBI in Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee. Tennessee has 24% higher rates of homicides in the state of California. Why?
Blah, 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 blah. Trying to change the subject. So deflect from the corruption heap by touting stats and blaming the media, but even the next clip he goes further, calling Trump dangerous and in decline.
This guy's still winding up. And we saw the Supreme Court today. Some decisions were kind of mixed, particularly on the vote by mail, which, earlier this week that was critical in terms of protecting and preserving our republic and our democracy. But again, vigilance doesn't even begin to describe what our posture needs to be over the course of the next few months, because as you suggest, across the spectrum, this guy is failing and increasingly flailing. And it's self-evident that decline from a physical and an emotional and sort of cognitive perspective, but the power that he continues to wield is real. And we have to, again, I think, be absolutely mindful that the worst is yet to come, that this is just the beginning.
Oh, it is just the beginning, Gavin. So while the probe closes in, Newsom's still firing off anti-Trump talking points. Next, the DOJ's Todd Blanche throws cold water on Newsom's claims, says they aren't grounded in fact.
Attorney General Blanche, a few weeks ago, Governor Gavin Newsom said that he was under an investigation by the DOJ. He called this political targeting. What can you share, at least respond to what his comments were on that matter?
I mean, the only thing I'll say about what he chose to do and what he chose to say is I'm not sure his words are in any way grounded in fact. He'd have to address that. But to the extent there's investigations that are ongoing, I will not talk about them, and neither will anybody behind me or in this department. He can choose to say whatever he thinks helps him. It doesn't make it true. All right, thank you, guys.
So the response matters because it undercuts Newsom's whole persecution story. Next, New York Post lays out who Alex Podesta is, the Newsom appointee, the center of the story. Newsom is cooked. FBI infiltrated Newsom's inner circle by turning a top Democrat ally into a secret mole. She wore a wire for the feds during the corruption probe. The net is widening. She orchestrated Dana Williamson, orchestrated a scheme to siphon $225 from a dormant campaign account, disguising the money as legitimate while serving as Newsom's chief of staff, shared confidential state government information with Podesta regarding the state's litigation against Activision Blizzard. Williamson pleaded guilty in 2026 to conspiracy. Her sentencing is pending. The June 24 wiretap, part of the broader investigation, captured Williamson discussing confidential matters with Podesta. Podesta inherited oversight of Becerra's dormant campaign account after Williamson became Newsom's chief of staff. In 2022, she received monthly payments, mostly $10,000, but her attorney says she did not know they were improper. The original Williamson probe expanded into wider public corruption investigation, now scrutinizing Governor Gavin Newsom, his wife Jennifer Seibel Newsom, including her nonprofits, finances, and taxes, and members of the inner circle. The FBI conducted court-authorized wiretaps May through June of 24 and sent notification letters. Williamson declined to cooperate with the expanded probe into Newsom, telling agents he had no information. The governor's office declined to comment on the personal matter. New York Post. So now you know the name, the bigger corruption scheme. Now we go through Dana Williamson, the Becerra campaign. George Santos says, I want to join public service again. I want to be the warden of the facility Gavin Newsom and Eric Swalwell end up in. Paul Morrow, to get approval to put a human source up against the sitting governor is a big deal. The predicate's no joke. They had to have a lot already, and I'm even surprised by this, and I thought I was beyond that. And MJ Truth Ultra, remember a few weeks ago, Newsom released a video in tears stating he and his wife were being investigated. Well, it just got worse. Longtime Democrat insider wore an FBI wire while cooperating with the feds. The investigation has expanded into Newsom's himself and his wife. The walls are closing in. So that's the point. The kind of FBI move that doesn't happen on a whim. Next, we have this from the Department of Justice. In a letter this week addressed to the President of the International Criminal Court, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche wrote the Department of Justice rejects any assertion of jurisdiction by the ICC. So, the peak here is not Gavin Newsom crying into a camera about Donald Trump. The peak is colder than that. Federal investigators were deep enough inside Gavin Newsom's orbit to wire up Alexis Podesta, while Dana Williamson moved towards a guilty plea tied to fraud, a false tax return, and lies to the FBI. Gavin Newsom kept selling himself as the future of the Democrat Party, while one of the people closest to his machine sat under federal scrutiny and money from Xavier Becerra's dormant account got siphoned through disguised payments. The contrast destroys him. Gavin Newsom did not stumble into bad optics. Gavin Newsom built a Sacramento culture where insider access, political protection, and public power mixed into a greasy cartel. And then the cleanup crew lost control and the tape started rolling. So here is the line that everyone should hold. Do not fall for the martyr script Gavin Newsom and the regime media are already trying to write. He ranted that Trump was coming after him. He sneered that Trump was declining. Fine. Then release the records, Gavin. Explain the June 24 wire. Explain the intercepted call letters. Explain Dana Williamson. Explain $225,000 pipeline out of Xavier Becerra's dormant campaign account. Explain why Jennifer Seibel Newsom's nonprofit finance and taxes now sit under the same widening cloud. Demand names, demand documents, demand charges where the facts lead. Todd Blanche and the Trump administration are defending American sovereignty abroad and restoring accountability at home. That terrifies blue state royalty. That's great. So share this with every Californian who got sold the Gavin myth. Then drop your take below. Is this the end of Newsom's 2028 fantasy or just the beginning of the takedown? I want to make sure you stay in the loop on this news. Make sure you join the thousands and thousands of patriots who've already texted the words raw feed to that number on the screen, 844-840-4963. And then make sure you're celebrating the wins with us at the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.